1. Hey everybody, Lewis here with LabPadre. I have Chief with us that's out on site, and Phil Kid with me here in our home studios as we are watching for another Destack this afternoon. As y'all can see, the quick disconnect arm has swung out, so we should be seeing some action here pretty soon. Phil Kid, thanks for joining us. Chief, thank you for being out there. Can you give us a little more intel on what you see out there or heard?
Why don't you take it, Chief? You're on the ground out there. Tell me what you've seen this morning, and then I'll fill in some stuff.
All right. Hey there, everybody. It's Chief out here streaming this live. Just another day. We're trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Saw a little bit earlier, hour or so ago, that the ship QD disconnected. But I was like, okay, the arm hadn't swung away, but I'll just go ahead and set up fourth stream just in case. But I was like, there's no way they're going to destack today after they just stacked it yesterday. And got the stream up, just kind of waiting, and sure enough, the arm swung away. So it looks like we are in store for another destack here shortly. I was running around the production site earlier, getting some shots, and along the launch pad here, and it's got a little bit of activity, but there wasn't a whole lot going on. So this is going to be another surprise, just like the stack yesterday was a surprise. So yeah, let's keep the surprises going.
Absolutely. I mean, we're obviously getting ready to launch, and a destack could be a destack for an FDS installation or something like that. But one of the points I did want to make is that a lot of people look at this stuff as it being negative, like something's broken. And when I was at Crowfest 4 this last weekend, I had the opportunity to speak to a gentleman from SpaceX who was involved in Starship production, testing and launch. And his comment to me was that Starship is ready to launch within a 48-hour notice of approval. So he's just waiting for the 48-hour notice. So that means that this baby's been tested and retested and tested again and again and again. And so they're ready to fly. So at this point, the destacking could be in preparation of maybe an FTS installation. Yesterday might be a stack just to determine what, make sure everything fits again as part of the testing protocols. And never hurts to test more than once, as we all know. And as we noted yesterday, there was a delay in the stack as they went up and they didn't pivot over right away. So from that standpoint, it was a slow stack. So we'll see what today brings.
Yeah, I brought up a point yesterday about a possible other static fire, and most people think that we won't see one. What do you think, Philip? Do you think that we would see another static fire, being that all 32 didn't light up last time?
Well, I would almost say that the answer to that would be no, and I kind of indicated that yesterday, in that if this thing is ready to fly in 48 hours, and that was based on his comment to me on Saturday evening, that means that with any 48-hour period, they're ready to fly. You can't do a static fire and then get this baby turned around in 48 hours. I think that's a little bit close as a timeline goes. So from that standpoint, I don't think we're going to see another static fire unless things are going to be delayed out for half a month, 2 weeks or something like that, in which case we may, there is the potential of seeing a static fire, but they got to clear the pad, they got to move the ship somewhere else. That would, if they move the ship somewhere else, then we'll see whether or not then there's a possibility for it. But as of now, until that ship moves, we're not going to see a static fire.
Yeah, good points there, Chief. Do you see a lot of people out there getting ready to clear the pad at all? Have you heard any klaxon indications?
No, it's been fairly quiet. There's a when I passed by, maybe close to an hour ago, there was a fair amount of activity going on in the immediate vicinity of the pad. I didn't look deep into it or over by the OLM or anything like that, but there was, a couple of sweepers, a couple of people moving around, a couple of vehicles. So that's why I wasn't really 100% sure what they might be going on. And no pad announcements so far, no klaxon sounding. But the last time we had a destack, it was totally quiet, and then all of a sudden it started moving. And then yesterday when we had the stack going on, we did have the klaxon sounding for a good while before it started lifting. So it's hard to judge which way they're going to go with it.
Yeah, I see a lot of vehicles out there right now, but I don't see a whole lot of action happening underneath the OLM. Was there the same amount of traffic out there or in the parking area yesterday as well?
Yeah, it seemed like it. Not enough of a lack of traffic that would bring it to my attention. So it did seem like it was a pretty normal day with a fair amount of cars parked there. And I just don't remember looking inside the pad to kind of wonder what's going on there, because I had no possible clue. Today when I came over, the QD had been disconnected, so I was kind of on the lookout for more indications. So that's why I was kind of looking at the activity inside the pad and along the parking area. So when I came in today, they did have some white cones set out to try to keep people away from the OLM area, but there was a fair amount of, like I said, vehicle traffic and the little rusher sweeper cleaning up after all the wind we've had, just cleaning up all the dirt and dust that's been accumulating.
I see. Philakid, I wanted to get your thoughts on, again, going back to the static fire, or the lack of a new static fire happening before the launch. What are your thoughts on them shooting this thing up with knowing that only 30 of the 33 or 31 of the 33 engines actually lit up? Do you see any problems with that?
Well,
real quick, I just want to break in. See a drone in the vicinity, right up next to the stack. So maybe getting close.
All right.
Well, my thoughts on that are that if they only got a portion of the engines started and there were 2 or 3 that shut down, one of the things we don't know is why they shut down. And I'm always the opponent of positive and feel that maybe they shut down because they wanted to see what would happen if they shut 2 engines down during liftoff. How would, or startup, how would the sequence operate? Would it shut the whole sequence down, or would the sequence continue? Potentially they know what caused that, and it might have been a relay. Well, not that they have relays anymore, but it might have been a switch that in the code that didn't fire properly, and it was an easily identifiable fix, and had nothing to do with the ship, but had to do with the software. And maybe you can do static fires in the software without actually lighting up an engine, and so they
with lifting.
There you go. Definitely.
All right, guys. Looks like we have a lift in progress. I saw somebody on the chat asking if they would actually fly with the chines as they are. Not sure exactly what's going on with the chines. Do you know what they may be talking about, Philip?
Yeah, the bottom of the chines have been removed so they can access some wiring or valving in there. And no, they probably would not fly with the bottom of the chines open up. And apparently they go right back real quick, because within a couple hours, so it's not like it's a major install item. I think what it is just the bottom of the chine is an access panel that pulls out as one piece versus a door or something like that. And it could be just to reach some checkpoints or Again, they're in a process of testing, and as I indicated, the head of of Starship that said this baby's ready to go within 48 hours seems to indicate that they don't have any design issues that they're correcting at this point. So it's a PM or a maintenance item that they just want to keep track on, and that's why it's open.
All right. Yep. All good points there, Philip. Chief, going back to you, do you do you continue to see any more of the fish and wildlife guys out checking things out in the distance?
Over here at the edge of the what they call the mud flats, they have the little tent set up and a bobcat. But I got out here just about lunchtime, so I wasn't sure if they were out here before that or and if they had maybe taken a lunch break. But when I got out here to look, I have not seen anyone out in that area. But that little tent and a bobcat is still on that location.
Yeah, but that tent's been up and down. They take it down when they leave. So the fact that it's back up means they're back. On Sunday, the tent wasn't there.
All right, good info.
Yeah, just so that people know, I spent the week, I basically spent a week down there last week. Between last Thursday or Wednesday and Monday down there for Crowfest 4. Thanks, Lab, for putting that together again. It's great to hook up with all our old friends and some new friends. We had roughly about 40 people down there, and surprisingly walk-ins. The people that didn't say they were coming just showed up. So it was a great time down there, as always, and meeting all the people and the tourists and everybody else that comes down there. It's always a fun time. You guys ought to make it next year.
Yes, sir. And of course, all the credit really goes to Whiz Kid, the mayor here of Nerdleville. He's the one behind the scenes making it all happen. And it was a great turnout, like you said. Met a lot of new people, saw a lot of familiar faces, and overall an excellent turnout.
Hey, Lab, just watching this lift here, it looks like it came up a little bit, transitioned over just a hair, and it's paused. So that's another kind of a non-standard Destack here. It's just sitting there pausing and no movement. Actually, it may be looking like it's moving back over the top of the booster.
The quick disconnect is moving over the top of the booster?
No, the ship. So it came up a little bit and kind of moved over like it was going to go, how it translates sideways and then comes down. So it moved over just a bit and has paused. And there for a second, I thought maybe it was moving back. But now it just looks stationary, just like it's moved over a hair, and it's not moving up, down, or sideways either way. So it's just sitting here with hanging in the air and paused for a minute.
All right. I confused myself for a minute, and I started zooming in on the bottom of the OLM, waiting for the entire thing to move.
I was looking at what's Lab focusing in on here?
I still can't get over how much this thing is being used. These chopsticks, they're really putting them to the test over these past few weeks with all these stacks and destacks. Do these cables? How often do you think these cables would have to be replaced after having so much tension put on them over the past couple of years?
Well, there was a lot of discussion about that early on, and the consideration was that if you consider this is basically a rig from a standard lifting rig from an oil rig, and though the cables were brand new, a lot of the equipment was I'm forgetting what the name of the machine is that does the lifting, but
I think they call it the drawworks.
The drawworks. There you go. Thanks, Chief. I forgot that. I'm getting old. The drawworks was rebuilt, but the cables were new, and the locks and everything else were specially designed for SpaceX. And in an oil rig, those things go up and down rapidly. 100 times a day, 200 times a day, depending on the size of the rig and how quickly they're doing it. And apparently those cables last a fairly long time, and they're designed for rapid removal and installation. And as you're aware, there's an additional section of cable already on the dead end, which that if that cable needed to be replaced, they can just pull the old cable, the cable that's been stretched out, and replace it relatively rapidly, probably within a 24-hour period or less, because they don't have to refeed or restring anything. All they have to do is pull it off the reel, and they've got a whole new set of wires. So the little bit of use that this gets means that it's probably not even close to its expected lifespan for operation.
And people were also mentioning the we were talking about the creaks and moans that we hear on the Destack, but don't really hear them on the actual stacking as they raise it. Are there actual brakes involved as they bring it down, or does it solely rely on the drawworks itself as the braking mechanism?
It's all on the drawworks. There are no brakes on the shoes that slide up and down the tracks. They're totally free rolling, and the only thing that has the brakes on it to hold it down is the drawworks. And if you think about it, the mechanical advantage with all those cables and what have you create a certain amount of friction, which also helps slow the operation. So it takes a lot of weight to pull that wire and operate that whole system. So there's some friction built into the system as well as the actual braking from the drawworks.
Hey, Killa. During the commentary, when I was speculating about the brakes on the carriage, some people had mentioned there may be a brake on the drum on the drawworks. Is that not the case?
That is the case. There are actually, I believe, 2 or 3 drums.
It does have a type of brake, but it's on the drawworks.
Yeah, it's on the draw, and that's one of the. If you'll notice on the drawworks, there are large capacitors on the level above the drawworks in the tower itself, and those capacitors are there to absorb some of the energy that the braking system creates, and there's also an air conditioning system that is there to cool down the brakes because obviously they get very hot. So it's basically a drag system type of deal, and all the braking is done by the drawworks, nothing else.
Chief, here's a question for you. I see in the chat that was from one of our newer members, Crane Man. He's asking, do we see any progress in preparations for the LOX and CH subcooler piping? Just curious if you have seen anything going on out there with reference to that.
They do have a good stash of pipes and valves and whatnot over, I think it's D3 gate or whatever. This gate that's over here by the orbital tank farm location. So they're on that inside of the fencing there is quite a few things that have been stashed there, kind of in preparation. Back over at the production area, that tent where I've got some shots of them working on some new pipes and whatnot. I got some shots today of just how many items there's located over there. There is a ton of things in that location, different pipes and sizes and connectors and whatnot. So it looks like they built up quite a backlog of those things. But from all indications, it looks like they're definitely going to wait until after this launch and then go full speed on that.
Yeah, when I was down there on Saturday, they were taking all that piping that Chief was just talking about behind the black fence there, because you can see through the fence. It's not solid. It's just pretty dense, and we could see them taking everything in there and stacking it and pushing it towards the front to make it as small area possible so that they had room for more stuff back in there. And I was either saying that's for them to bring in more pipes so they have more storage, and also maybe preparation for, because they park a lot of machinery, some machinery back in there after, during launches, and so that's one of the areas where they hide stuff. The other thing we noticed when we were down there was all that piping Chief was talking about. Some of it's outside along the road, and then you look through that opening over there, just west of where the old radar, or not the radar towers, the microwave towers were, and that in that building, in that tent there, that fabrication building, there was a ton of pipe work there that they were working on. So they're fabricating it and getting it all ready, because most of it's all bolt-in. It's not welded for the most part on site. It's welded off site, and it's mostly bolted and flanged. So getting that piping in and insulated shouldn't be too hard of a process once they decide to go ahead.
Looking at the under the skirt here of all 6 engines of the Starship, I know not too long ago there was some type of drawing or simulation of having 6 of the RVACs on the Starship. Is that still something that we may be seeing in the future here?
I think, based on what I've heard from the ring watcher people and the people that are more attuned to what's being developed for the Starship, I bet you that's something we do see, which would increase the lift capacity of the Starship. And Starship's all about moving stuff, and if you're going to lift up fuel and things like that, what's a better way to do it but put more fuel in and extend it by a few rings at the top, so you can put more fuel in it and put a couple more RVACs underneath it, and you can lift more fuel. So that's ultimately the goal, to get the fuel up into space for refueling in space that they've got to do. As I said, go ahead, Chief.
Oh, go ahead.
As I said earlier, the gentleman I spoke to seemed to, indicated to me that this is an R&D facility. Everything we see here is going to have something new about it, and it's not a production facility. It's R&D, and so we will continue to see R&D here for the life of this project, the life of SpaceX down here at Boca Chica, because that's its main design, and that's its main purpose, is to develop the systems to build these things so they can produce them elsewhere and launch them elsewhere. He said they're looking at other options for launches, seeing that the offshore oil rig failure, that's the way he termed it. It was a failure to think about using those offshore rigs that they had tried, and they might have just bought them just to get the draw works, because they got a very good price on those, so it might be cheaper than buying a new draw works. Get a used one off the oil rigs, and that might have been their sole purpose. But I think in the future we'll see future developments for launching that we haven't seen yet, and that's long term.
Talking about refueling up in orbit, a lot of people were under the assumption that that's what S-26 was going to possibly be for, or prototyping for. My question is, you get that thing into space with its fuel. How do you get more fuel up into space to fill it up so it can refuel other vehicles?
I'm sorry, Lap. Could you repeat that for me, please? I was distracted.
Oh, no worries. I've seen that some people are under the impression that S-26 was possibly some type of refueling depot for orbital purposes. My question is, if that is the case, it's going to use its fuel to get into orbit. So once it's in orbit, it's empty. How do you get it refueled? How do you get more fuel into space to refuel it, so that it can refuel other vehicles?
I think the development of 26. Now, again, this is my opinion, and probably some crow to it. But I think 26 was developed to. There's a contract that SpaceX and NASA has, and that is to show that they can transfer fluid in space from one tank to another. And I believe S-26 that's one of its functions. I believe it has other functions. And because I believe it also has a full Starlink rack in it. And transferring cryo fluid from one tank to another is a demonstration project. Doesn't have to be 10,000 gallons. It only has to be 50 gallons. As long as you can transfer that 50 gallons, you can prove that it works, and you've got a system that shows that it works. So S-26, as it's built today, is not going to be the fuel delivery truck of the future. I think it's a prototype test article of that concept. Long term, I think what we'll do is see S-26 with maybe 2 or 3 rings in it, and the entire I'll call crew compartment or cargo compartment will be nothing but a big methane tank or a LOX tank, and it will go up into space with however many gallons of LOX that it can carry. That maybe the 6 RVACs, the addition of the 6 RVACs will allow it to carry. And because remember, if you extend the top of the tank of the Starship, you don't change the bottom of it as it sits on the booster. So you don't have to mess with the tower. It's just going to be a little bit taller, and it will then transfer that fluid. It will stay in that ship until maybe they send up another empty tanker up there that it transfers to, and basically you have one big tank in space that just keeps, you have an empty Starship that's orbiting. It already has a LOX tank in it, a CH4 tank, and maybe you add another tank in there for nitrogen, and you transfer all your fluids up there in extended S-26. It's like 737 extended or 747 extended versions. They're just a little bit bigger to carry a little more capacity.
And I guess without the flaps, it's pretty evident and obvious that they have no plans on bringing it back down. I wonder how long that thing will last up in space before it would make its re-entry and burn up.
Well, it depends. If you're going to use it as a tanker up there, it depends how much fuel you have on board to lift the orbit if you need to, or what orbit you put it into that it needs to maintain so it stays out there for the transfer of the fluids up there.
Well, would it be able to resituate itself while it's in orbit if the RVACs can't gimbal? I guess would they be relying on the other devices on the outside?
I'm sure that there's some sort of reaction. Yeah, you have to remember, Lab. I'm not a Starship expert by any means.
Well, you definitely know more than I do.
So, there's the potential that you could use doesn't have to be an RVAC. You could use the gimbling center Raptors to, raise the orbit possibly, because we know they restart. So, there could be fuel in there to restart those and raise the orbit if you needed. And, the other reaction rockets might be enough to transfer orbits. That's not my field.
Right on. Yeah, I wasn't sure if they would be able to actually use the sea level Raptors up in space or not.
Well, you can use them. They're just not as efficient as the RVACs.
Okay. Well, see, I learned something every day. And Chief, going back to you real quick, I see that they've swung over and are getting ready to transition and start lowering. Have you heard any more creaking and moaning out there that we usually hear on its way down?
No, it's been really quiet. I was just about to jump in. I was letting y'all finish that last conversation. I was going to jump in and just mention it seems, compared to other times, just how slow and careful they're being this time. Just the fact that it seems to have paused a couple of times as it was translating over. And once it's finished translating over, it seems to be paused again and not moving down. So for whatever reason, this seems to be a very slow and deliberate destack compared to some other times.
Interesting. I see a couple of drones flying out there also. Oh, one of them might have been a bird.
Interesting story about drones. One of the nerdles ran into a gentleman who showed up down at Starbase on Monday, showed up with a drone down by the suborbital pad, set some cameras out on some tripods, pulled his drone out of his vehicle, and launched it into the air. Well, our nerdle happened to notify him nicely that SpaceX might not look kindly to him flying a drone down there, at which point he pulled the drone down, and within 5 minutes, SpaceX, the sheriff, and the Border Patrol all came cruising in at high speed to investigate.
Hey, sorry to interrupt you again, Phila. Yep, starting to hear a little bit of creaking, so I think it is starting to come down here.
Oh, yep, I can see it ever so slightly creeping down. There we are. Yeah, they're very serious about their droning operations out there. I believe they have some type of radar system on top of Hopper that monitors any kind of activity in the area when it comes to the flights.
Yeah, they right on the very tip top of Hopper. When they put that up there, we did a deep dive into that. Thomas was with us, and he was looking into. We actually got a model number of what it was, and it detects the drone frequencies and can indicate an angle that where the frequency is coming from, and so they know where it's at from a 360 degree and what azimuth it's at, and they can identify that there's a drone flying in that area. And obviously they saw it because they came screaming down the road from the build site to investigate.
Wow. I see Shuttered in the chat here is asking about the destacking and stacking operations and all how many times have S-25 been destacked, including this one. I believe this is the 5th destack, and once they restack, it'll be the 6th stack for 25-9 here, super heavy, which is the most that any super heavy vehicle has been stacked and destacked. And like I said earlier, they're giving these chopsticks and drawworks a good workout these past few weeks.
Yeah, I concur with you on that. And I think it's been very interesting how quick we'll go from a stack to a destack or vice versa. This is twice that something has happened within a day of each other.
I think they're getting really comfortable with what they're doing now. I mean, they didn't no klaxon this time around. Maybe it is the stacking that requires the warning.
It seems to be. This is 2 Destacks in a row where we had no pad announcement, no klaxon.
I wonder if they're even clearing the pad.
Well, the gate's open, doesn't have any ropes across it, so from that standpoint, the suborbital side of things and the driveway are not closed.
And the deliveries to the orbital tank farm, I took a shot of that. There was 7 delivery trucks in there offloading at one time, so it's very busy over there, and they're still going through that process right now. So they didn't stop them at all, and I think it's been a while since we've seen that they've closed that out when they're doing a stack or destack. So that's not totally unsurprising, but it is just how many there are over there. Can't quite tell how many there is now, but when I drove by earlier, there were 7 trucks there.
Just to get a quick different view, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the Rover 2 system and see what we have. Yeah, we have a nice close-up of the Starship as it's being cradled by the chopsticks. Sweet view there. How's the wind out there today, Chief? It seems like it's calmed down just a bit from yesterday.
A little breezy. It has calmed down from what it was yesterday. Like I was kind of guessing, maybe yesterday as it started to warm up, the winds died down just a little bit. So it is a pretty typical day with the amount of breeze that we get coming off of the Gulf. And it is even though it's not very sunny, it's still a fairly warm day, but just cool enough man, it feels really good today. So I wish I could have more days out here like this.
I hear you, man. Too bad it's not always like this out there. Although I do enjoy the sun a little bit, as do the batteries and solar panels. These cloudy days are sometimes a little fun.
When I left down there on Monday morning, it was colder in Boca Chica than it was in Connecticut.
Wow.
And it was quite windy. It was like 30, 40 knot winds down there. It was crazy.
I tell you, a lot of our cold fronts are sometimes have gale force winds and are cause more damage than some of the hurricanes and other tropical storms that have come through here.
Somebody in the chat was commenting about this couple missing tiles on the side of the ship. And in talking to another ex-Nerdle, as a matter of fact, who is involved in the tile program, he seemed to indicate that ship is fully tiled and ready to go. I think potentially those 2 missing tiles are part of an experiment. Because remember, they aren't looking to recover this puppy. They're going to try and they're going to abandon it and let it sink. So I think they might want to see what happens if there are a couple missing tiles. It's also been identified that we've noticed that there are some tiles that seem to have sensors attached to them, so that they can probably determine the amount of heat that's dissipated within the tile, and Because remember, this is an R&D ship. It's not a production ship. So they might be wanting to look to see what happens if we lose a couple tiles on our reentry.
Yeah, that's an interesting theory there, Philip. I just zoomed in there on the two pieces that are, supposedly missing or have fallen off, and they are right there on a seam, which would probably be a good place to test right on a seam to see if any of the they get any of the plasma upon reentry, how it affects the tiles that are missing there and the steel behind it.
And as you can see,
right on the maybe right on the edge of a weakest spot.
Yeah, they're right on the seam, and but they're also not in the center where the most heat would be. It's on the edge where you're going to get some overflow, and not direct impact, because it's almost 90 degrees off the center line.
And with every is the custom as we got to Elon giving us information on Twitter about all the operations out here. He's been a little bit quiet about it and kind of making us think a lot more and wonder a lot more on exactly what's going on out here. I guess he really has his hands full right now and not wanting to give away any information.
Well, at the same time, he's the chief engineer. He's not the CEO or the manager here. That's Glenn Shopko, and she's very quiet. So we don't ever hear anything from her, and she's the boss about what happens at Boca Chica.
Yeah, you don't hear very much from her at all, other than when she first came on board. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Barry Wood. He gifted one LabPadre membership earlier, just 10 minutes ago or so. And Devin was the gifted new member. So Devin, congratulations. Hope you keep that membership after the free month is up. And Barry, thanks again for hooking Devin up. Also, a special shout out to Andrew Lester, which is one of our moderators here at LabPadre. Looks like he's the only one right now in chat. He's making sure everything is clean and fun in the environment. Making sure they keep making sure he keeps the nerdle in check. Appreciate you, Andrew. It was also a pleasure to meet you this past weekend.
Did he remind you of anybody there, Lab?
He seems familiar, but I don't know exactly who it is.
Yeah, some funny guy named Musk kind of looks very similar.
Yeah, early days of Mr. Musk. And I see we got a couple people boasting their memberships. Mouse in the house. Member for 46 months. Thanks for the daily stacking, destacking stream. Yes, sir, Mouser. Thank you for your extended support and everything you do for us with the Raptor Roost and Rover 1 monitoring. You do an awesome job. Stephanie B, member for 14 months with LabPadre Gold. Great coverage. Lab in Chief, you're most welcome. Thank you for hanging out with us for past couple of years. It's all you members that keep us flowing over here, and all the donations that help keep our brand going and all our maintenance to our vehicles and equipment. We got a lot more equipment than people think. I think we discussed this a while back. We have 13 cameras, I believe, and countless other network devices that we got to monitor and make sure that They're up to par. So it is quite the undertaking.
Yeah, it's pretty much nonstop, either taking photographs and video or maintenance just to get it ready.
And of course, you know, we can't go without saying our editors, our video editors, photographer editors, all the guys that keep track of the daily cameras, the 24/7 streams to watch and pick up all the content that goes into our weekly and bi-weekly videos. We have a large team that is phenomenal and keeps us going. And shout out to all of you all. Y'all do a great job out there. And we got about, 6-7 feet maybe before we're going to have touchdown on the stand. The next question's going to be, how long is it going to remain on the stand before it goes right back up again?
What I want to see, Lab, is a couple of bucket trucks up there at the STS, filling it with some high explosives. That's what I want to see.
Yes, sir.
I checked just before we went on. I checked the marine notices to see if there was any updates or any reclassification, but they're still working off last week's notice, so there's nothing been updated there on the notice to mariners, either here or in Hawaii. But I keep looking.
And as we're wondering, after this thing touches down and hits the stand, as I said, when will the next stack take place? Let's go ahead and put a poll out there. What do you all think, Nerdle, when this next stack will take place? Will it be tomorrow? Will it be Monday? Or will it be later? Let's see what y'all have to say today.
Yeah, they're really going to have to go out there and guess on this one, just the pace that they've been going. Stack number 5, and we already know it's going to have a stack number 6. Not necessarily D-stack number 6, but definitely a stack number 6.
Yeah.
We should call these crow poles.
Yes. Yeah, with this one here, there's going to be a lot of crow being had, because this one is just pure guesstimation here.
How were you able to get the camera so elevated to get this shot? I've never seen this shot before. That's great.
Well, this is actually, we are on the side of the road in the dune area a little bit, just right over to the east side there. Chief, you want to explain that a little bit, where exactly and how you got this set up?
Yeah, like Lab said, just along Highway 4, just off the dunes, about 30-40 meters, and I've got just enough of a gap in the dunes looking north to be able to shoot my data back to Lab's dish that he has there, and it gets me over just far enough so we can see the stand here. They've kind of cleared out some of the things that used to be in the way, so it does give us a little bit better view over here. And this is typically where I go for a lot of the events, and I'll set my remote cameras with a trigger for a static fire or wet dress rehearsal or whatever. So I had to move up just a little bit so I could find a gap in the dunes to be able to get this to them. So yeah, still a really great view. I love it over here.
Is this where you were last week when we were down there?
I'm trying to remember exactly where I was at that. I believe so. Just off of Highway 4 on the south side. just over in the dunes, like I said, about 30 meters or so.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look at anything live last week being down there, but I did notice where the cameras were, and I said, oh, there's
Yeah, maybe halfway from the edge, the fencing that's at the orbital tank farm, maybe halfway between that and where the beach is. So I'm kind of right in the center of that.
Yeah, Philip, when you're here in town, there's really no reason to watch live when you can see it, with your own eyes.
Well, you are watching it live then.
You're watching, you're watching it live, but you get so many different views looking at all the different cameras that you miss what's going on elsewhere. Because I didn't look at the production site all last week, other than driving in and driving out. Because my main focus is what's going on down here on the launch pad, and that's where all the nerdles were kind of congregating.
Yeah, when you're out there, in person, you are full on live. When you're here with us behind the screen, it's just Memorex. Not sure if any of the youngsters would get that one, but...
Is it live or is it Memorex?
Yeah, Grandpa check.
Hey, you're as old as me. Lay off.
I'm looking at some of these tiles here right now, and as great as the job as they do putting these on, I do find it a little odd that it's not very seamless. You can tell that some of them are protruding just a little bit here and there. It seems like upon re-entry that the forces would grab against those leading edges.
It'll be interesting to see what, how the tiles survive through. And it'd be great if at some point there's live cameras on the inside of the ship at some point that's going to show maybe hotspots that generate on the inside of the ship as it comes down. But talking about QC, one of the issues that was discussed with that gentleman from SpaceX was that their QC that they have to deal with has improved so much over the last couple of years than it did back when they were working out of tents and fields and out in the mud flats and everything else. He said our QC has improved dramatically with each continuance and each new building we have to work with, and our quality control isn't where it needs to be yet, but it's getting pretty damn close, and he anticipates once they get the new factory up and running and get doors on and don't want to hear this, but once they get doors on all the buildings, the high bays and mega bays, they'll be able to achieve the QC quality that they want.
Yeah, we're all not looking forward to those doors and walls.
Yeah, once the factory's built and the doors and walls are up, we won't see ships. The only thing we'll see is parts and pieces coming out of the factory and getting moved into a building for stacking. So the rover cam will be more critical than it ever was before.
Yeah, we won't see ship.
Yeah, I'm sure once it gets to that point, you'll have lots of company over there, Lab. You won't be the only one.
Now it appears they're holding before they drop it down on the stand right now.
Yeah, they've been doing a lot of holding this afternoon, taking extra precautionary measures, I guess. It's not very windy, but they've done it in a lot stronger winds than this before. Oh, there goes a drone popping right back up off the ground again, because he was checking alignment checks there.
The other thing that's not up is the guide pins, right? Or is that's only on the booster? That's right, sorry.
I'm just scrolling through the chat here looking for any other questions that they may have. I do see one here from Jordan Soden. Why don't orbital aircraft not have navigation lights? Well, that is a good question. Not sure about that. I guess. Go ahead, fella.
The funny answer would be, or other orbital craft can't see them anyway.
Yeah. Unless they're manned, you know. Yeah, that's a very good point. Unless the orbital aircrafts are manned, they don't really need to have any lights on board.
Yeah, it's not like you have port or starboard, 17,000 miles an hour closing each way, which is 34,000 mile an hour on a head-on collision.
Yeah, everything is like, you know, these ships, orbital satellites and other spacecraft are kind of just like oversized drones. Computers take care of them. The computers know exactly where everything is at any given point in time. So, and then without any humans to see the lighting, don't really need the lights. So there you have it, Jordan. So, Philly, you're going to be down here in a couple weeks again if they're ready to light this candle?
I wish I could. I've debated it, and there's a new airline that's flying from Orlando over to Brownsville and Avion or something like that. And there's an airport near me that flies into Orlando with that same airline. So I could hop down there real quick for a day and hop back if we knew it was going to be one day, but I don't think I'm going to be able to make it.
Oh, man. Well, we'll definitely have the cameras lined up for you. And as we sit here in a holding pattern, we'll go ahead and switch back to rover 2 real quick, just to get an overall wide view. Yeah, they definitely did not clear anybody out of there. That is very strange how they've been doing these stacks and destacks, where sometimes they clear the pad and sometimes they don't. And it seems that, as we said earlier, it's the actual stacking that they send off the klaxon warning and clear everyone out. And during a destack, there's just no warning whatsoever, other than the movement of the ship quick disconnect.
Instead of the overpressure being the warning, the ship 2D arm is your warning.
Well, you know, that's a good point. They have to depressurize in order to release and stack. So maybe that's what the klaxon warning is for the depressurization.
Talking about depressurization, one of the things that we've noticed on many of the ships are the big dents in them and the bends in the rings and, like big dimples. That's all a function of the QC and the welding, and the fact that they're welding in conditions where one side of the ring is hot, the other side of the ring is cold as they're welding it, because part of it's in the sun and part of it's not. And that's one of the issues they have in QC that they've got to correct. And they need a solid, clean environment to do the welding proper so they don't get those dimples. And we've always looked at them saying, oh, the pressure is going to pop it out, and it will. But at this point, that's an issue that they understand they've got to correct in the future, because they want a smooth ship and they don't want those dimples in it.
Just to give an idea of how much pressure is actually involved when it comes to popping out those dents. I've seen a piece of ship 9, Starship 9, SN9, after the explosion, and that steel is thick and extremely strong, and taking a hammer to it is barely going to put a dent in it. So for those pressures to be able to just pop those big dents out like a soda can, that is just insane to think about.
Talking about taking a hammer to an item, the hot stage ring, somebody asked the question, the gentleman from SpaceX, what kind of structural strength that had. And his comment was that, you could bust it from the side relatively easy with all the weight that's on it, because it's not really designed to take a lateral stress. Because you remember, as the Starship and the booster flew up on the first flight, how rigid and solid that joint was? Well, if this goes up and doesn't separate, that joint is not going to be rigid and solid like it was then. This is going to bend and flex.
Trusty old drone again, checking things out. Getting the low-level bird's eye view as it's just about to make its kiss with the stand here in just another few inches.
If you can zoom right in on that closest leg, it looks like there's two pins sticking up and two wedge-shaped indentations right above them, right in the center, almost the center of the screen. And I bet you they need to line up before that puppy sets down. They might be lined up, and it's just the angle that we're looking at just doesn't show them.
Get any closer, we might get a little bit of a shake. We'll get a little bit closer here. Oh yeah, it looks like it is possibly touching there on the left, just a mere inch or two before it's completely set down. Hey, Chief, just curious, what's it looking like over there at the production site? Did you get any views over there earlier before you set up over here?
Yeah, I ran around and got a few shots. Like I said, just some things. Someone pointed out there was a new 4-ring barrel section that had come out of one of the tents, so I was trying to find it. You know, I always check over at the Rocket Garden in that area. They're still taking apart some pieces of the air separation unit, so I was trying to see if I could catch any of that going on. I did, as I was coming in, stop by Massey's, and they were lifting, I forget which article they were lifting inside the cage, so I did get some video of that I'll be uploading and a couple of shots. So yeah, and that fabrication tent that I had mentioned earlier with just all the pipe sections and pieces. Yeah, I got some of that content. You know, when someone notified me about this possibility, and then I ran out here. So got a fair amount of things going on there today. So it seems fairly busy over there. You know, as compared to here recently, especially, it will seem like a ghost town over there. But today seems like they had a lot going on.
I noticed they hadn't really used Test Stand A over here for anything recently. I wonder if there's some underlying issues with it, or they're doing any work on it to prep it for any other new upcoming tests. I know that they usually use Massey's for the majority of the testing now, which kind of puts a relief on so many road closures happening over here. Gives the fishermen and the beachgoers quite a bit of relief, and I'm sure that they're thankful for that.
Yeah, and photographers.
And photographers, yes. Can't forget about you all.
I noticed. Go ahead, Len.
I was going to say, and for all of us rubberneckers out there too that just want to check things out every day.
I noticed that the first and second, the first level of the tall building on the Star Factory, closest to Route 4, that the paneling's going up on the Route 4 side, and there's no glass involved in it. And they just started the second row, and it's solid panels also. And when I was out there last week, it doesn't look like there's any framework for any glass whatsoever on that Route 4 side of the Star Factory and or the other end. So I think I don't think there's going to be any glass on the Star Factory whatsoever.
Oh yeah, they don't want anybody looking in.
And or any of the heat to get in.
Yeah.
That's probably the main reason. Because heat and sun are not fun to work with.
Yeah, I was going to say, we did see some deliveries of what looked like some glass panels that kind of fit that bill for the Star Factory. So just wondering if maybe, I don't know, I'm still hopeful that, you know, some of the renders that we've seen with the glass front, I'm still hopeful that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I looked at that glass when we were down there last week, and it looks to be about the right size for the mega bag, the new mega bag at the top. But I didn't see any window frames for it. All I did was see the glass. I didn't see any framing, window frames to hold the glass. And one of the things they are doing is they're installing the elevator shafts in the mega bay as we speak, and they've been doing that for the last yesterday and today. So that insides are getting ready to be completed.
I see a new name in the chat, Anshul Kumar, asking if we have a Fish and Wildlife review. No, we are still waiting on that. They have supposedly up to 135 days for them to complete the review, although they do not expect to wait that long. Things are getting really close. They've been out for the past few days and over the past week in and out of the wetlands, checking things out and removing some old debris from the last launch. So, yeah, we're still waiting on that review.
I don't want to give anybody hard text. It's 135 days, not 235.
Oh, my bad. I thought I said 135. And Beach, the Florida man, is asking, what was that airline from Orlando to Brownsville? That's going to be a question for Philakid here. I think he was the one talking about that.
I believe it's Avillo or Avio or something like that. They just started the service, or they're about to start the service, because they were planning it. They actually have one from also Los Angeles into Brownsville, and he's basically going after SpaceX traffic.
Yes, I was just looking it up now. It's Avelo Air, Avelo. I'll go ahead and drop that link in the comments here. Ooh, that's a long link.
They totally missed the opportunity to use Aviato, the fake company from said HBO sitcom Silicon Valley.
There's that link for you. Beach, the Florida man. Aveloair.com. Let's see, we have somebody from Moscow in the house. That's one thing that we didn't do today. Is everybody give a shout out to us from what state or what country you're from. Y'all want to blow up the chat real quick? The Broken Bucket says that Almeda has a question. Let me scroll up chat real quick. Here we are. Almeda McIver. Will this ship completely change by the time it gets to be manned? And how much bigger? Oh, wow. After looking at this ship and the way it's designed, I don't know if it actually has any room for humans as of now. So I would think that there's going to be some big changes. What do you think, Philip?
Well, actually, it does have a cargo compartment, which is several rings high, and then nose cone, the actual nose cone where it tapers. So I believe it has the capacity, from what I understand, to equal the area inside the International Space Station as in its current configuration from a volume standpoint.
I couldn't imagine. Oh, I'm sorry.
It either shows you how small the International Space Station is from a manned compartment area, but if you can equal it in one ship, one Starship in its current configuration, that's saying a lot.
I was going to say, I couldn't imagine being in that ship and it doing its flip. I'm just curious what kind of G-forces people would feel in that environment as that vehicle is coming down, at an extraordinary amount of G's to begin with, and then for it to do its backflip and just total opposite G-force, that seems a little much. Although I'm all for G-forces.
Well, the interesting thing is when it reaches its upper altitude, and we saw this on 15, as it makes that flip, you go to 0 Gs for however long it takes for that rocket to drop down a few thousand feet before you start to feel gravity again. And because remember, you're falling at the same rate the ship is falling, and when it stopped moving up, you're still moving up if you're not attached to something. So you're at 0 G as that ship goes over the top of the arc. Coming out of space, it's a different story, but at least initially, we've seen in the ships before. That's a 0 G ride that you would never forget.
Yeah, that's definitely on the bucket list, a 0 G ride, and also maybe a 8 or 9 G ride.
Well, we'll try and see if we can hook you up with Mr. Isaacsman and see if we can get you a ride on one of those planes. We know a few people who know him.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I do have another buddy that's got a connection that had something lined up for me, but still waiting on the complete approval. And I see the mayor himself is in the house with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Mr. Whiz Kid, for helping us out. Although you have done plenty for us. And I think he's the one who's drawn first blood in the support today, adding $10 to our support goal. Haven't really talked about that much today, but I went ahead and put the goal up in the bottom right-hand corner. As usual, when we reach our goal, we get Nightbot to do its business and pick a random person out of the chat and give away a piece of heat shield tile.
Yeah, for some reason it feels like it's been we've been live for a good while, but it's barely been an hour and 20 minutes. I'm looking at.
Yeah, it looks like they're fully down. It doesn't look like there's any gap in there at this point.
Yeah, let's grab just a little closer look, but yeah, it looks it's touched down for sure. No seam, no open seam, and Gray Rocker's out here in the house with another $10 super chat for more root beer. Appreciate you, Gray.
Yeah, I was going to say, that is a pretty good zoom on this PTZ. I've got my 600 millimeter lens out, and I'm zoomed in as far as I can, and yeah, I'm nowhere near that close.
Well, just for full disclosure, we are using a digital zoom to get that super close view right there. But yeah, the digital zoom does work wonders sometimes. Right here, right now, I just undid the digital zoom and clicked in for another small zoom, and right now we are at full zoom capacity right there. So once you see that update here in just a moment on the live stream, you'll be able to see where our full zoom is.
Not sure if you can hear that on the stream, but that is a interesting new sound coming from the OLM area. Not quite sure what that is.
And we have Grid Leak in the house with a $20 super chat. Successful landing of S25 again. Yeah, I think S25 has done the most landings so far from coming out of the air. Appreciate that, Grid Leak. He's another one of our camera operators that helps us out from time to time. And we also have 20 pounds coming in from Just Martin. You are amazing. Well, back at you, man. Appreciate that. So now that we have a landing, so to speak, we'll go ahead and get a wider view.
The cootie arm is swinging in. Just barely caught. Should be still moving just for a hair.
Let's check that out.
You know, one of the reasons they might be doing they might have done a Destack is so they could access the top of the separation ring there, so they can get in there and work, because there isn't a work hatchway to get in there. And with the delays and everything, waiting for the environmental approval, there's no point in of not testing and checking and testing and checking and testing and checking. So if they can do that with the accessing the top of the hot stage ring there, then that could be a good reason why they destacked. Because that is the newest piece of this whole operation, is that hot stage ring.
Yeah, and it is probably the weakest link in this whole vehicle as well. So they need to make sure that that thing is pristine and everything is right about it.
If you think about it, that hot stage ring has been through 5 stacks as well. So that's been putting a lot of weight off and on it, and through a wet dress rehearsal full of propellant. So yeah, I'm sure they could take that off and take a good look and make sure that's holding up well.
Well, we've seen them do that too, haven't we?
Yeah, they really put it through the ringer, and so far it's held up very, very well.
Well, you got to keep remembering what I said earlier when I'm talking to a gentleman from SpaceX. He said, we're ready to fly in 48 hours. So from that standpoint, from an engineering and operational standpoint, this guy's ready to go as soon as they get the word. So anything you see here is probably just testing and retesting. It's not, something that I don't think they've identified stuff that's not working, or they wouldn't be ready to fly in 48 for sure.
Very true. And we have Droner Dan in the house with a $10 super chat. Hey, Padre and Chief, longtime nerdle, hopeful, all is well, and let's light the stack soon. Yes, sir, man. We definitely are waiting for this candle to get lit and see this stack fly in the sky. It looks like it's getting gloomier out there by the minute. Switching back over here to the yin yang cam, as we've been calling it lately. A lot of gray clouds out there. So if you don't make it this time, Philakid, this is going to be the first launch that you've actually missed. I think you've been here for all of them. It looks like I may have lost Chief and Philly here for the moment. Definitely lost Chief. I think Philly may be on mute or on a phone call real quick. But looking at our poll here today, we've got 425 votes and pretty closely divided as far as when the next stack will take place. The majority seem to think that it's going to be later, not tomorrow or Monday. 38% say later, 33% say Monday, and 29% say tomorrow. I'm going to say later as well. We'll see what happens. And somehow I missed you there, Brian Murphy, with that $4.99 root beer fund. I appreciate you. Never can have too much root beer in the house. I'm seriously thinking about getting a kegger. I think the next order of business here, as we sit here and wait for SpaceX to continue their work on Super Heavy and Starship, would be to see the quick disconnect and its setup come out to give access to the top of the booster. So we'll see if they climb aboard there and check things out and do any more work up there. And now it looks like we're starting to see some activity down at the pad. I see a few vehicles have come in and are backing up and getting ready to check things out. We got one behind the OLM and one that actually just pulled in near the stand for Starship. And one in the back looks like a massive welding rig. It looks like he has 4 welders on the back of that truck. Oh yeah, and definitely some people in the back as well. It's a nice truck there. Nice welding rig for sure. Yes, that looks like the crane operator that just jumped in and getting ready to spark that thing up. Wonder what he's going to be lifting here shortly.
You can see there he's fired up 2 of those welding rigs because you can see the exhaust cap popped up on.
Oh yeah, starting to make some movement now. Go ahead and back out here just a bit. There you are, Chief. You disappeared for a minute.
I had to drop off real quick. I had a phone call and I wasn't sure if I could take it and not have that go out live. So I'm back with you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. Yep. Been in the same situation. I do believe it does automatically mute the voice on the live stream, but you never can be too sure. So I usually drop the call as well.
I did think that, and one time I was watching, I had the live stream going, and I just went over and checked out a YouTube video, and they're hearing it on the stream, and I was like, okay, well, let me not do that then.
Yeah, it's the phone calls themselves that actually disable the Discord audio. But yeah, if you're watching some other type of video or something, that definitely does bleed through.
I just had one of the big windmills that looks like it's pulling in on the back side of the OLM. Looks like they're getting ready to do some serious welding. Looks like they just brought in some cover gas there on that the forklift there.
And as the votes have almost doubled now about when we're wondering when the next stack is going to take place, it looks like it is closing in. We're still, later is in the lead at 36%, followed by Monday, 34%, and tomorrow, 30%. And I just saw that I fat fingered that when it says, when will the next stack place? It's supposed to say take place. My apologies on that.
Yeah, and I'm seeing some activity back out here at the flats. The crew that's picking up the debris, they are back at work.
All right, let's go ahead and take a pan over there real quick, see what we can see. Yeah, they're kind of obscured behind that small dune there, but they do have, looks like a backhoe and another vehicle back there, along with the tent.
Yeah, I keep this camera and dish setup fairly low to the ground, so don't have another situation like yesterday where the wind blew it over. I know it's not quite as windy today, but yeah, I tend to keep it low, so they should start moving out into the flats here pretty soon. Bobcat is, so they should start.
Interestingly enough, they have left some pieces of material that they're collecting outside the dumpster. So if you're down there and you happen to have a hammer, you can break off a piece of concrete from the blown up launch pad, and or a piece of fondag with. Be careful with the fondag because there's a lot of really small stainless steel microfibers in it that are very sharp.
Yeah, I have a feeling we'll be able to find pieces of that forever down here.
I think so.
And there's some really large pieces out in the surf that hit the water that look like bombs, you know, that splash down that probably won't ever be able to be picked up. I didn't see any boats out there floating trying to pick up those pieces. Not even sure if they'd be able to.
Yeah, they made a movie about raising the Titanic. They should be able to lift those blocks.
Yeah, yeah, you're right about that. Can't really see what that crane operator is trying to get to, so we switched back over here to Rover 2 real quick to see if we can catch a peek at what they're working at. From the looks of it, looks like they're working on the base of the OLM there, or the booster disconnect. Also got to give a shout out to my boy Friday Ray. I see you in there. Didn't mean to overlook you. Definitely a lot more activity down at the pad now. It looks like the white SpaceX crane is lifting up just a bit.
Yeah, it definitely seems like there are a fair amount of workers that were just waiting for this to come down so they could get busy. As soon as it's they heard an announcement earlier, couldn't quite make it out, but it was obviously something related to pad clear, because right after that, I see a lot of activity going on. I see Sharpie just rolled into the house. Another brother from another mother. Thank you, Sharpie, for rolling in and checking us out here this afternoon. Glad you made it. You missed the Destack by just a moment, but while you were down here, you got to see one in real life. You got to see a whole lot while you were down here. Stack, Destack, hot stage ring removal, hot stage ring installation, and most of all, Crowfest.
And another special shout out to Sharpie with a $10 super chat. Says he had a wonderful time at Crowfest 4, and thank you for the live stream, LabPadre and Chief. Well, thank you very much, Sharpie, for all your extended support. It's been a pleasure to have you as a close Nerdle friend. Met you a few times out here, and keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, same for me, Sharpie. Yeah, it's a lot of great people I got to meet. Some for the first time, some I got to meet last year. I just wasn't that familiar with the whole Nerdle crew, so now able to put some of the commentary in the chat with some faces. So it was great seeing everyone. But Sharpie, you're definitely one of the coolest dressed ones out there, I gotta say.
I want to see the gentleman who from SpaceX notices when he picks up the cones along the road, he's going to see Sharpie's signature on it and say, "Who's Sharpie?"
Friday, Ray, I see your comment there. Yeah, I was trying to be on my best behavior. Definitely didn't want to show myself off too bad in front of the whole Nerdle crew. Not for the first time, maybe the second time, and I'm more comfortable with everyone. All bets are off. We'll see.
Those clouds are looking pretty low and dark out there, Chief. Are you getting any drizzle on you out there?
No, they don't quite look rain cloudy-ish. Just a little dark and more overcast. Not saying that it can't. I'm not that familiar with the weather here, but yeah, it's been this way most of the day, and just at least the wind was down though.
I guess the lens is playing tricks with my eyes. It looks a little skittish out there.
Well, I was kind of facing the water, so looking back that direction, it does look a little more ominous, a little darker. I guess we could possibly get some rain out of that.
Yeah, the daily forecast shows only a less than 5% chance of rain, but around here that usually means it's gonna rain. It's really weird on this barrier island, or at least on South Padre Island. It'll say, the forecast will show 50 to 75% chance of rain, and as soon as it comes, usually the way it comes from the west, as soon as it comes over the bay, it kind of just parts its way and goes around the barrier island and then continues on to the east, and we miss it all. But if it shows just a slight chance of rain, we usually get it. So go figure.
I was going to say for that first example you gave, maybe it's all that hot air over there, pushing it away.
It seems like it's something that has to do with the bay, because we're usually cooler by about 10 degrees than the mainland here on the island. But as soon as those storms start rolling in from the west, as soon as they approach the bay and start touching the bay and coming over the bay, they just part around, like kind of open up and engulf the island, but don't really touch us. It's not all the time, but it's a lot of the time.
Yeah, I'm sure some meteorologists could give me an explanation for all that, but yeah.
Yeah, looking on the radar here right now, that cloud coverage isn't very dense, so we probably won't see anything.
But we do seem to be done for the day excitement-wise. How much longer are we gonna kind of keep this rolling?
Yeah, we'll probably cut off here. We'll cut off at 4 o'clock here in 30 minutes. Just get it an even 3-hour stream.
Good deal. Maybe we'll see the crane roll over and start taking a look at the hot stage ring.
Yeah, you never know.
That's what I'm wondering if that's going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, haven't seen any activity yet with the old big crane there, but you never know. They're always pulling fast ones on us. And they very well could be done with that portion of the inspections.
Right. Yeah, that was a total assumption on my part, but yeah, who knows? Yeah, that could.
And of course, from this view, we won't really be able to see any kind of a FTS installation if that's what they're going to work on today, especially if we're cutting off here in the next 30 minutes. But Rover 2 will be able to watch that activity. And just so everybody knows, once we sign off, if you stay on the stream, you will be redirected to Rover 2 stream automatically. So once we sign off and the stream ends, just hang tight, and we'll switch you over to our normal daily activities.
Yep, LabPadre party never stops.
No, sir. Andrew Lester seems to think there will be no FTS today.
Well, okay, there you go. If Andrew said it, might as well go home.
Oh, I see Shenandoah Smith in the house. Another special shout out to Shenandoah. It was a pleasure seeing you once again at ProFest. I know you've been down here quite a few times. It's always a pleasure to see you. Our very own Tinkerbell. Switching over to Rover 2 here, it looks like they pulled down that smaller crane. So whatever work they were doing looks like it may be completed. Never saw that big white SpaceX crane pop up. And since there doesn't seem to be any action up on the higher tier of the OLM and Starship, we'll go ahead and focus down here at the actual pad and see what we might be able to check out in the next 20 minutes. one. We do have a little bit of crane movement. Yellow crane is backing up. Looks like he's going to be repositioning somewhere. And that SpaceX crane went up just a little bit and then came right back down. So they may not be using that after all this afternoon.
Another pad announcement just now, and all I heard was wah, 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 wah. Couldn't make that out at all.
But Charlie Brown, teacher. You know, we used to hear them very well last year. I wonder if they've made some type of adjustments to the speakers and where they're pointed in special directions or something, so we don't hear them as well. Or maybe it's just that area. I guess we do kind of hear it a little bit better at the Rover 2 site, but the audio that's coming through on this stream is from Rover 2, and it's still a little hard to understand.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I hope the people on the pad can hear it better and understand it better than I can, because every once in a while I get a pretty good, clear, understanding of it. But most of the time it's a lot like what I just heard just now. Just everyone looks at each other and is like, could you understand that? And we all just shrug our shoulders.
Some of it could also be the wind blowing, the noise away, so it's more difficult to hear after, depending on which way the wind's blowing.
I do remember, though, when Rover 2 was first deployed, the microphone was like, we could hear every pad announcement perfectly. And SpaceX did ask me at one point if we could lower the microphone level just a bit. They were a little perturbed that we could hear everything that the pad said.
Only one way for that to happen. They had to be listening to us, huh?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it happens. It does happen. Since day one, the man himself, Elon, told me that he actually, told me to his face that he watches the streams. Early on, at least, it was easier for him to wake up in the morning and turn on the live stream and see what was going on. It was easier for him to get a gauge of what was happening out there rather than pick up the phone and ask questions. He could actually see it right here on the live stream.
It's also one way that the employees keep track of what's going on, because they're so focused in their job that they can't look at what's going on at the pad. If they're working at production or up at Massey's, they have no clue what's going on down at Sanchez or the build site or down at the launch site. So looking at our streams is a good way for them to get an overview of what's going on the entire project.
Yeah, I've had a couple of other employees tell me that as well. That they SpaceX keeps them up to date on what's going on, but not nearly as up to date as we can keep them up to date. And that goes for the Florida complex as well. We give some of these daily streams, the weekly updates, the bi-weekly updates, and we cover everything. as much as we can from what we can see, and that helps them to know what the rest of their team is up to and how they're progressing. I'm glad we can give that to them. I see Perpetual Nerd reaching out, saying he really appreciates the live streams that both Chief and I are bringing out daily. Well, we really appreciate you hanging in there and giving us your extended support. It's great to have you out here with us. And I did miss the Jolly Roger with a $10 super chat, keeping Labs root beer supply topped off. Roger that, Jolly Roger. Really appreciate you and your extended support. It goes a long way. Looks like I may have missed somebody else too. Let me roll back a little bit and see. Oh yes, Jill Clegg, also another $10. Thanks, Lab, and as always, and get some cold root beer. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Jill. Much appreciated. And as we're approaching the final 10 minutes of the stream before we sign off here, I see we have 786 votes for our poll today. Wondering when the next stack will take place. Still a pretty close race. For you all that have not voted yet, tomorrow showing 32%. Monday is tied for 32%. And the majority seem to think that later at 36% will be the time we see another stack.
Wow, a huge depressed vent.
Oh, we should hear that coming on here pretty shortly. Oh, here we are. Kind of hard to tell from the camera angle where it's coming from. I wonder if they're purging some lines before they get ready to fill up the ship. If they even do fill up the ship.
Yeah, I was gonna say that seemed to be coming from the booster. I was looking for if I could see it. You know, when usually when it depresses, you kind of see it as it's shooting off to the side. I couldn't see any of that, but that was extremely loud. That one caught me by surprise.
That's probably what the announcement was.
Yeah, that's what I was getting. I heard of a couple of announcements. I couldn't make any of them out. I'm sure they were probably warning people in the area to put their hearing protection on.
Yeah, they definitely warn everyone when they have those loud depresses or vents that happen. Don't want any type of brown note experiences happening out there, so you got to get warned accordingly.
Back at Crowfest 1, they actually didn't depress until they asked Thomas to get out of the way of the potential ejectile that might be coming out of the ship. And they had him move out of the swamp area where he was out taking pictures, so they could do that.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that. They actually had to ask Thomas to move out, huh?
Yeah, they asked Grandpa, they came over to Grandpa Joe and said, "Hey, Grandpa Joe, do you know that guy out there?" And he says, "Yeah." And we called up Thomas and suddenly he had to get out of there so that stop taking pictures and come back so they could continue with their depress.
I'm surprised they didn't send the drone that has the speaker out there to tell them to clear the area. They've done that to me before.
Yeah, I think they realized that they needed a speaker after that type of. This was 3 years ago, so it was a while ago. So it was back before 15. As when they were launching 15. So that's like 2.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have all that fancy stuff back then.
Yeah, it was always good to have Thomas in the stream here with us. Always had a lot of information to give us, a lot of insight. I hope he's doing well, and we see him again here soon.
He stops into Discord on occasion and chats with us for an hour or so every once in a while. So he's doing well.
Well, that's good to hear. I don't make it into Discord very often. It's usually only for private messages and a quick hello, and I'm out. probably should check in a little more often. Got to keep the natives happy.
Not the natives, the nurdle.
Looks like they're finally wrapping up out there for the day. That little Bobcat is bringing in some of the equipment they had out there, the tent and other utility buckets and stuff.
Interesting observation I made when I was down there, and I just noticed it when that Bobcat drove by, looking at that picture. The demarcation of their property line along parallel to Route 4 is where the concrete wall is, right at the Orbital tank farm, where the loading port platform is. So their property, where the trucks park for the loading platform, is actually on state property. It's not actually on SpaceX property. There's one of those markers right there in the center of the screen.
Yeah, that's it's a weird situation they have there. You know, where they're driving is supposed to be a state easement, but it very well could be that the state relinquished that easement when the property was increased in size.
That's true.
Not sure about that yet. We'll have to look into the appraisal district and see what it looks like on the map.
But clearly, as you go east, as soon as you go east of the SpaceX property, it drops way back, and that's equal to the easement on the north side of the road. That is where the demarcation between the state road property and the park property, where they have those wood posts and the wire between them. Yeah, right behind Rover 2.
Yeah, actually, I am looking at the appraisal district map right now, and it looks like the state easement was cut off from the boulevard, from Highway 4, and it does the easement does start up again towards the southern end of the property. But what people also don't realize, even though those markers are showing kind of a do not enter area, so to speak, the Dogleg Park property actually goes all the way to the water line. All of the properties along the dune line reach out to the water line. But of course, the Texas Open Beach Act prohibits any private property owners from stopping people to be in the dune area and on the beach. So it's a weird situation. It's private property, but it's not. So technically, their property goes all the way to the water line.
Yeah, they own it, but you have to allow public access on it.
Gotta love Texas.
Well, actually, that's quite true, and even up here in Connecticut, and I believe in most of the other states that have waterfront property. Pretty much anywhere where you have waterfront property, you're allowed public access to the mean high water line, so you can't privately own beachfront.
Well, I think that's about going to do it for us today, guys. I appreciate everybody hanging out with us today. It's 4 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and wind down. But before I go, I just want to reiterate our voting poll. 844 votes for the next stack to take place. Tomorrow's looking at 32%, Monday's 32%, dead even tie, and later beyond Monday, 36%. So let's see who eats crow, and we'll take it from there. Hopefully, I'm not sure if we're going to be on tomorrow or not, just depending on what's going on. But we will definitely check in with you and let you know. Phil Kid, I appreciate you coming in and being with us today for the past few hours. It's been great to have you on as always. Chief, you know it. Glad you're out there with us, making it happen, bringing these live views for us.
Thanks for having me, Lab. It was a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be on here with you and Chief, and look forward to doing it again and add whatever information I possibly can and eat some crow at the same time. We all know we don't all know the answers, but we love being here learning what we're learning. So thank you for that. And that's Philly Kid out. I'll talk to you guys later. Everybody have a good weekend if we don't talk to you before then.
See ya.
Yeah, same for me. Thanks to everyone for joining. I get a big kick out of being here and being able to bring this to y'all. So thanks for hanging out and making me, keeping me busy. So we will see you when we see you. This is going to be Chief out.
And one last shout out to the moderators out there, keeping this place a nice, clean, groovy gig for everyone. Another special shout out to everyone that donated today to helping us keep the streams going and our maintenance, keeping our vehicles and equipment up to date and maintained. Just want to run by everybody again. We had Barry Wood earlier this afternoon gifting one gift. We had Whiz Kid coming out of the gate with a $10 super chat. Gray Rocker with $10. Grid Leak with $20. Justin Martin with 20 euros or pounds. Brian Murphy with $4.99. Droner Dan with $10. Sharpie with $10. Jill Cligg with $10. And Jolly Roger with $10. Seems like most of that went to root beer funds. So you know what time it is. Anyways, guys, until next time, we'll see you on the flip side. And this is LabPadre out.